Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, we are back again. My name is Pete. This is Studio Live today. And in this video, we're going to be mastering my new song here not in GarageBand, but in Final Touch, which is a mastering app here on iPad. So what I'm going to show you in this video is how I take my final mix from GarageBand on my iPad, how I send it to AudioShare, which is a great audio editing and copying and sharing app on iOS, and then sending it over to Final Touch to do my final mastering tweaks ready to release. Because if you are just catching up, it is Songtember. So hashtag Songtember, the month of September, which is nearly over. What I've committed to doing is writing, recording, and releasing an entire song right here on the channel, and I've challenged you to do the same. So watch this space, because the next video after this one will be my release, and then I'll be asking you to link to your released songs. I know some of you have already finished, which is fantastic. Some of you are still working and, like me, are frantically working on the final stages. So that is also super cool. But let's jump in here and do this, because this is going to be useful even if you aren't doing Songtember, and even if you've done a GarageBand project before and you've thought, what is this mastering caper all about? Do I need to master? How do I master? How do I do all this? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video here. We are live here, and I gave like 2 minutes notice for this live stream. So if you are here live, feel free to drop your comments and let me know any questions you have, any of your own feedback. And if you do get some value out of this, hit the like button. That tells me that I should make more videos like this, and it is about my 4th video in the last 24 hours. So if I start nodding off halfway through, that's probably why. Let's jump in here. I'm going to throw up my iPad screen, because this is what I've been working on. Here is my track. If you missed my earlier live stream, what I did is I did 2 live streams in the last 2 days. I did a stream where I did my vocal recording. So all of these vocals down here, I went through and I recorded the vocals live here on the channel. So you can check that video out. Just go back a couple. And then the earlier video today was where I mixed this, and there was a slight disaster, because you know what happened? I did a bunch of moves. I showed automation, I showed mixing, I showed editing, I showed all sorts of things, and then GarageBand crashed, and I hadn't saved in a really long time. So here's the first thing I'm going to say. Once you've made a bunch of moves here, you've made your edits, you've done your things here in GarageBand, about every 10 minutes, just hit the button here in the top left corner. Hit that button, and that's going to take you back to this screen, and it's going to actually save out your project. And then what you can do is go back into your project and reload it. I'm telling you this because I didn't do it in the earlier stream, and I paid dearly for that, because I had to redo everything that I'd already did. Anyway, what we've got here is my song. If you're not familiar with it, and many of you are very familiar with it by now if you've been watching these videos, but we'll take a quick listen to it. Here's what the final mix here is sounding like. Life is long and you have much time. You're in a rush and you don't know why. You want it all and you want it now, but you doubt your talent and you don't know how. So what have I done here? Well, because I mix my vocals so loudly, I've tried to lower the vocals. I've also tried to bring up the guitars. I got some advice from my friend Jade, as well as some other folks, that I needed the guitars to come up and I needed the drums to come up. So I've sort of pushed the limits here with the guitars and the drums. I've tried to push the vocals down a little bit, and I've tried to balance the mix as best I can. Now here's the thing. I could spend the next week, month, year trying to get this mix right. The mix is about 90% there, in my view, because of the great feedback I've got from folks here on the channel. And what I need to do now is just finish it. I'm just going to put a fork in it and say it's done. You know why? Because it's the 29th of September here in Australia, everywhere in the world now, in fact, and I need to get this mastered so that I can release it in the next few hours. Otherwise, there is absolutely no hope that I'll have this done in September. So, yes, there's 2 schools of thought here, right? I'll come over here and I'll rant quickly before I continue this. There's 2 schools of thought. One is that, hey, Pete, you're cutting corners. You're not giving it your absolute best. You should be spending more time and more effort on this. And the other school of thought is, you've got another song in you next time around. Get this one done, get it finished, get it released, and learn from it so that your next song can be even better. I like the second version, and that's why here on the channel I say create, record, release. Because I think until you start releasing your songs, until you start finishing your songs and sharing them with the world, then it's really hard to actually learn from them. So I've learned a heap in September. I hope you have too if you've done the Songtember challenge. And if you haven't, Songtober, why not? Just do it whenever and wherever you are. If you've never made a song before, it is easier than ever. The barrier to entry is lower than ever. Anyway, we are ranting here. We need to get into this because I don't have time to talk about these things. Let's jump in here. What I need to now do is export this song. So here is the stuff. So let's mark it there. This is the point where I'm going to go in and give you the details of what we need to do. So what do we need to do? We need to go back to our project. So we're going to tap on that button there in the top left. That's going to save our project out. Now we're going to tap in the top left corner where it says select here, and we're going to select on our Songtember project. We're going to tap on that one. That is selected now. Now we're going to share this one out. So in the bottom left here, we're going to tap share, and we're going to tap song. And if you need to learn how to do this, if you search Pete Johns share song, I'm pretty sure you'll get a complete tutorial about how to do exactly this. We're going to use uncompressed wave, 44.1 kilohertz, 24-bit. This is the quality that we want. And we're going to tap share in the top right corner. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this firstly to AudioShare. So if we come down here and tap Open In, now this is a bit new because iOS 13 or iPad OS has some new features in here. So instead of just going straight in, sometimes we need to do Open In, which is okay because what it's going to do now, it's going to export the song. And this usually takes somewhere between 30 seconds and about 3 minutes, depending on the song itself. So in hindsight, yes, Pete should have done this prior to actually doing this video, but you'll get to see in real time exactly how long it takes to export. So what this is doing is it's taking all of the tracks of my GarageBand project, so the guitars, the vocals, the drums, everything, and it's mixing those down to one stereo file. So just a left channel and a right channel, and it's mixing that as a WAV file. And then what I'm going to do, I'll tell you what I'm going to do because we're going to have to wait for this to export, is I'm going to bring it into AudioShare, and then I'm going to trim it. So I'm going to cut off the start to make sure that the very start is exactly where I want it to be and the end is where I want it to be. And you'll be able to see the waveform as well. So you'll be able to see what this track looks like, which is not super important, but it is in a little way, which I'll tell you in a moment. You'll be able to see where its peaks and troughs are, and that I've used a technique here to reduce the volume to make sure that we can actually have some headroom to actually master, which will make sense when we get into the mastering process in just a moment. So yes, I'm padding, but hopefully it's useful padding information because this song is still exporting. It's going to go boop and be done in about half a second. There it goes. It's ready to go. So make sure we don't tap the wrong button here. But what we're going to do is we're going to now, well, actually, why don't I save it? I'll save it to files. This will be the easiest way to do it. I'll tap save to files, and it's going to pop up here. I'm going to go to AudioShare files because this is where my AudioShare files are saved. And then I'm going to tap save. Now, if you don't have AudioShare, it's about a $3 app, and it is so handy. It's one of the most useful apps I have on my entire iPad. So I strongly recommend, if you don't already have it, that you pick up a copy. Here it is down the bottom here. I'm going to tap AudioShare now to jump over into AudioShare. Here it is. And now I need to find where it's actually put that one. We'll be able to do by the time and the date here. So there it is, Songtember. It's a 51.9 megabyte file. Yes, that's the time right now. So we'll tap on that one, and here it is. So the thing that you can see here is it's very much. Oh, that's the wrong track. I thought that looked a bit strange. So here it is. So it's got a little bit of headroom here, yeah? So I turned the volume down to make sure that we had some of this space up above. It still normalizes it to 0 dB. If that means nothing to you, don't worry. But what you can see is this part here. See where I've put the cursor there? Just right there. It's actually gone right up to 0 dB, but the beauty part is here that this song has a bit of dynamic range. So there's still a bit of headroom there because what you'll see is once we've mastered it, you'll see that this will look a little bit different. Do I have a mastered song here that I can sort of show you? So when you master a song like this, okay, that's a little bit insane. I don't know why I mastered it quite like that. Yeah. So yeah, you can see there that once you master a song, it's going to start limiting it. So it's going to push it up to the tops like that. And that's the sort of thing we want. We don't want to track like this because this isn't going to have a competitive volume when we're playing it alongside other tracks. So it's okay, but yeah, if you don't master a song, then you don't want to crush it to the point where it just sounds really generic and you've got no dynamic range, but we do want to boost it a little bit just to make sure it's got some volume. So here's what it sounds like now. We can hit play here. So it's all good, but the reason I go into AudioShare first before I go to Final Touch is we need to trim off the start here, yeah? So I'm going to line this one up. I'm going to tap on the Tools button of AudioShare in the top right corner. So we'll tap on Tools, and I realize you can't see Tools. Yeah, sorry. Oh, no, you can. That's okay. Tools, and we're going to go Trim and Fade. So here we go. We've got these handles here. So I'm going to bring my trim handle here at the front to around about the spot where I want it to trim in. And then if I keep holding down, I can actually move it, and I'm zoomed in here. So we're going to zoom into around about there and release. And now if we tap this yellow button, we go back to the start. Let's hit play. That's about what we want. You want about half a second. So if we hit the green play button, or we'll hit it now. That's about right, because you don't want too much time, but you don't want too little time, because sometimes when you play back in a streaming platform, for instance, it'll cut off that very start. So you don't want that, but you also don't want like a second or two of silence at the very start. So that's about right. The end, I happen to know, is okay, because we did the fade out here in GarageBand, but let's just take a quick listen. So here's how it fades out. There's the end, and it will fade right down to nothing. So I don't mind leaving a bit of a fade at the end of a song. I don't like it to cut off too soon. Nothing sounds worse than something that cuts off too soon. And if you want to learn about fading in GarageBand, I showed that in the previous video. So we're ready to go now. We're going to tap the Save button in the top right corner. So we'll tap on Save. Our song's still called Song Temper. I haven't even changed it to Hold On yet. So it trims it, it saves it, and now it's good to go. So here it is. It's the trimmed version. We hit play, and away it goes. It's all good. So that's cool now. Now what we can do is we can send this over to Final Touch to do our mastering. So in the bottom right, we've got our Share button down here in AudioShare. We're going to tap on Share, and it's going to bring up our share sheet once again. What we're going to do here is we're going to share it out to the app. Now, I've got to remember how to do this because iOS 13 and iPad OS is pretty new. Let's tap More here. Here we go. Here's all of our different suggested apps that we can actually share this out to. We'll scroll down until we find Copy to Final Touch. So this is the one we want. We're going to tap on that one, and it's going to send this over to Final Touch. Now, Final Touch is a mastering app. It's by Positive Grid, who do a lot of great guitar apps and a lot of other great audio apps here on the iPad. I've got a complete tutorial series, in fact, about Final Touch. So I'm not going to go into a heap of detail about the mastering process, because the mastering of this song is going to be pretty simple, because we've got about 5 minutes or 10 minutes to master it. So all I really want to do with the mastering of this one is perhaps push that volume up a little bit, just to get a little bit more volume. So I won't go into the details of how to use Final Touch, except that in the bottom right here, we can turn the mastering off, and then we can turn it back on again. So we can tap that button, and at the bottom here, we've got a bunch of things. We've got an EQ, we've got a reverb, we've got dynamics here for multi-band compression. We've got a stereo imager, if you want to increase the stereo range here. We've got a post EQ, a second parametric EQ, and the most important one is our maximizer. So the maximizer is the limiter. This is a brick wall limiter, and this is what's going to push the volume of our overall track over to the 0 dB, about the level that we want it to be. So that's what we need to use here. So what we're going to do is, if we hit play on this one, let's come to a loud sort of section here in the middle, and we're going to hit play. Okay, that's really too loud. I'm just going to turn that down so we're not going to blow your ears off here. There's just a way to win. Looking sideways at other folks, thinking you're the... All right, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to start sort of dialing in what we need here. So I've turned it off there at the moment. We'll turn that back on. We've got a bit of a clunk there. So by default, we've just got this little round off here at the bottom end on our EQ. So I'm just going to leave that on there for now. The dynamics here, we can actually change this to whatever we want. Now, what I want to experiment with here is up the top here. I'm going to tap on this preset section here, and I want to actually try some mid-side kind of changes here. So I'm going to go richness and depth mid-side here and hit save. Whoop, no, we don't want to save that. We just want to go back out here. So we can actually, this is a weird thing. You can use either stereo or you can use mid-side here when you're using a multi-band compressor here in Final Touch. And what the mid-side will do, this will be kind of interesting, is we can adjust the mids and the sides separately. So instead of going left and right, we can adjust the what's up the middle here, and we can adjust the left and the right. So we can actually compress on the sides more, and this is what I want to play with, because with this song, I think there's a bit too much down the middle. I don't want to necessarily spread it out, but I want to enhance some of those guitars on the side. So let's just hit play on this one and take a listen.
But of everyone jokes, but there's one lesson that I've learned. When you feel that you can't return, that is that you should persevere, because you won't.
So I just did that to show you like what you can actually do with this. Obviously I wouldn't master it like that, but what I'm thinking is that we may want to just put these slightly out of balance so that we've got the sides being compressed a little bit more than the mids here. So let's just play this.
Get it done by living in fear. Hold on, hold on. It's gonna be a long time. Hold.
So that's sort of the thing that I think I want to do with this track. So that's a suggestion anyway. That's the sort of thing that we can do here. The key thing here though is the maximizer here, the limiter at the end of the chain. And because of the way GarageBand works, what I tend to do is over here on the right is I tend to turn my input down a little bit so that we've got a little bit of additional headroom here. And then on my threshold here, I'll start to dial that down just to bring it up. So let me just show you what this looks like. We'll hit play on the track. We'll come back a bit.
There are times when you might give in, thinking there's just no way to win. Looking sideways at other folks, thinking you're the butt of everyone's jokes. But there's one lesson that I've learned. When you feel that you can't reach.
So that's sort of what I'm thinking here. And you can look at the meters on the right there, because what you'll see, and when I export it again, you'll see the difference in the waveform, is that it's just bringing up the level a little bit. So yes, I haven't done much here. I've done like nothing on the EQ basically. In fact, what I did want to do, I might do it in the post EQ here. Let's bring the post EQ in here. I did want to just reduce some of the treble frequencies here. So what if we just play with bringing the treble down a little bit, because it's a little bit harsh in the top end there. These may not be my final changes, but you know what? They'll be pretty close to it because I don't have a lot of time. So let's just play with that there. And then I'll show you what this maximizer does. If we put the threshold all the way up and we start playing.
That is that you should persevere, because you won't get it done by living in fear.
What you'll see over there on the right is that the meters are doing about the same sort of thing. And every time we bring the threshold down here, it's actually going to push our output meter up over here closer to 0. So what I tend to do is have this one down a little bit, put our threshold down, and this is just going to level out those peaks and give us a little bit more of a consistent performance here with the limiter. It's only one way to master. There is literally no single way to do anything in music, but this is the way I kind of approach it. So we'll hit play again.
There are times when you might give in, thinking there's just no way to win. Looking sideways at other folks, thinking you're the butt of everyone's jokes. But there's one lesson that I've learned. When you feel that you can't.
So that's about it. Now, what some people want to do here is that they want to pull this all the way down and get these big, like, straight lines of compression going on. What I'm going to do, I'll turn the volume of the output down on the actual mixer here, and I'll show you what that will do, and you'll listen and hear. So if you're ever mastering and you're doing too much aggressive mastering moves, then too many, then you're going to hear it pumping like this. So let's see if we can get some pumping going on here so you can hear what not to do when you're mastering a track. We'll hit play.
Return. That is that you should persevere, because you won't get it done by living in fear. Hold on. It's gonna be.
So hopefully you heard that was terrible. I turned the volume down to save your ears, but yeah, you get compression, you get pumping, you get all these horrible artifacts coming into your track. So be really careful. The key with mastering, and any form that you do it in, whether you're doing it on an iPad, you're doing it in a mastering app, or you're getting a professional mastering engineer to master for you, is do no harm. So don't actually make it worse throughout your mastering process. Just try and improve on that. So let's bring this back up here and we'll play. Let's play our final chorus here and see if we can get this sounding the way we want it to.
Hold on, 'cause it's gonna be a long, long time. Hold on,
sounding reasonably good there. Let's come back to the start of the track, and what I'll do is I'll have the mastering app on here, and I'll turn it off and back on again. And let's just hear again to make sure that we're not doing any damage here. Let's make sure that this is actually sounding okay. So if we hit play, so there's it with the mastering off. And we'll turn it back on. Off again.
Life is long and you have much time. You're in a rush and you don't know why. You want it all and you want it now, but you doubt your talent and you don't know how. Look around at what others do.
All right, now you might be thinking, yeah, it's just louder, Pete. Like, you know, you can hear the difference in the volume. Yes, that is 100% true. And to do proper comparisons, you would need to level out the volume because louder can sometimes just sound better. Anyway, I'm going to show you if we export this, what it's actually going to look like. And it takes a while, so I'll start the process now and then we'll finish off the video here. So in the top left here, I'm going to press the share button again, and I'm going to export this back to AudioShare. So I'm going to tap AudioShare here in the export options. I'm going to do 44.1 kilohertz, 24-bit, and a WAV file, and we're going to tap export. So that's going to go away. You can see there it does its little thing. It's going to go through and export this file. It's actually much quicker this time. I think I've already exported a version of this, so it didn't take as long as it did the first time around, and I haven't done a bunch of complex mastering moves, so it won't take forever to do that, which is cool. So it's exporting this back. It's nearly finished. It's going to throw it back to AudioShare. Here it is. Back in there, it's AudioShare is still like exporting from before. So I'll just hit done on that one and we'll come back. And here you can see the difference, right? So here is our mastered version at the top here. So we've now got these peaks going up here. We've still got enough dynamic range that at the start here, that it's not being totally crushed. And then in these sections, it's actually kind of hitting up near 0 dB, but it's actually coming up and down. So if we play that,
Give in, thinking there's just no way to win. Looking sideways at other folks.
so it's still giving a little bit, and then we come into the sort of the quiet bit here.
Really make you happy.
So it may need a few more tweaks here. I'll go offline and I'll play around with this a bit more because it's still a little treble heavy, still a little bit harsh. We just need to tame some of those treble frequencies with some of those EQs. But if we compare this, so there's our mastered version that we've just exported. If we come down here to our original version, that's what that looked like. So not considerably different. And again, if you look at some of my previous masters, so let's find this punk song Goats that I did. Yeah, so that's a punk song that's been mastered. I almost went a little bit too far with that one. In fact, I did. So you can see that that's almost like a sausage shape. Yeah, it's just like leveled out at the top there. It's like square waves. You generally don't want that in a rock song or a pop song, maybe a punk song or like a heavy EDM kind of song. But this one here, yeah, it's probably about right. Could even go a little bit more. I could probably even push the limiter up there and give it a little bit more on that one as well. So that is where we're at now. So it may be this version, or I may tweak it a little bit more, which I'll probably do in the next half an hour. When I return, it will be release time. So the very next video you see here on the channel, if you've been following along all of Songtember, yes, I know, I'll stop saying Songtember in October, or Songtober, then yes, you will see my released version. That's where I'm going to release this song. I'll release it to at least DistroKid. Derek gave me the idea of Bandcamp as well. Maybe I'll release to Bandcamp tomorrow on the last day, just so it's available somewhere. I'll definitely put it up on SoundCloud, so you'll be able to stream it there, and it will be available, the final version here on the channel, on YouTube, of course. So that is all happening, and what I'm going to invite you to do is, if you have completed the song in Songtember, in the next video, I will be asking you to link it. So if you've got a link to it, if it's already released, if it's somewhere, link it, because remember my promise? Remember back on the 1st of September when I said, if you release a song, I will buy a copy. That I 100% will continue to do that. So if it's released on a platform, I'll be buying a copy. If it's on Bandcamp, I'll buy it. If it's on Apple Music or Amazon, I'll find a way to buy a copy. And even if you finish it and you link it on SoundCloud and then you release it in October, I'll find a way to actually get it then. I will honor my promise to make sure I buy a copy of everyone's song as it is released. Hello to the folks here live. 650 Thunderbird, Brad Bradstock, Just Because is back again. Hello to you folks. I know this was a impromptu stream that we just did here, but thank you for joining me. If you're watching on the replay or if you're here live, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you learnt something here about mastering here on the iPad using Final Touch. I didn't mention much about Final Touch again. It is a paid app and there is a full tutorial video. If you search Pete Johns Final Touch, you'll get a bunch of my videos telling you how to use this in a lot more detail than I covered in this video. That is going to do it here for today. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend and I'll see you really soon when we release this song. Take care, folks. Bye.